Brexit Britain is like a teenager that stomped off and left home for the bright lights of the city, hoping for a better life and hitting the big time. Pretty much like that film with Dustin Hoffman and Jon Voight, Midnight Cowboy. And here we are, having left the European Union officially 5 years ago, stumbling around, trying to find that deal that's going to deliver the riches. But every time one is presented, once you go through the detail, the facts remain that we are by a country mile better off going back home. But sadly, the people in charge of Brexit Britain are unable to realise that, and they go off on this holy grail every time, trying to get that political bombshell of sitting there with world leaders like Donald Trump, hoping that they will make it to the big time. But reality continues to eat them, and the country more and more wakes up to the reality that we were conned. The latest two deals with India and the supposed deal, the introduction to a deal, the preamble to a USA trade deal with Donald Trump are a reminder actually to Britain that Brexit is an absolute failure for Britain, and only shows that slogging on with it is a fool's errand. Yesterday, I spoke to the BBC, which was on the news at 10 last night, and also to BBC World Service, and I will play the clips in a minute. But it seems wrong that the Brexit situation we're in is really ensured a form of dictatorship, elective dictatorship, in that the Prime Minister has too much power. And 650 MPs, okay, some don't turn up, I know, but they are meant to make the decisions for us, and Parliament is sidelined. MPs are not being listened to, and our system is failing. These deals are terrible for this country, and we need some sense and a return to logical, sensible thinking, which puts the country first. And we can only put pressure on ourselves as people to those MPs to remind them of what they're meant to be doing. There are some good MPs in there, we know that, and we have to continue to do what we're doing, but also we have to do more, because the only people getting a lot of attention at the moment are Nigel Farage and his reform outfit. However, these deals are making Nigel Farage own Brexit and own the reality that he is completely besotted with Donald Trump, and the majority in this country are really not that taken with him. So we've all got work to do, and it's important to keep looking at these things. We hope that a deal might come through and knock our socks off and take us to the moon and back. But ultimately, there is no deal out there that's better than being in the European Union.
The winner from today's deal-making is the country's biggest car exporter and manufacturing employer, Jaguar Land Rover. 100,000 British cars now face a 10% tariff, down from 27.5% on exports to the US, lined up here near Bristol. This saves over £1 billion, what insiders said was an existential threat to the car industry.
It creates the certainty that we need to continue to invest going forward. Not only for JLR, but actually for the whole automotive industry in the UK.
A similar deal, albeit at zero tariffs, applies to steel too. Our second biggest export, medicines, will also be treated preferentially. But there will be more US beef imported, albeit not of the hormone-treated type, which remains illegal. Some farmers have doubts.
I'm very sceptical about doing deals with America in particular, or any big
food producers who've got a huge advantage over us. We're a small island with a big population. And in America, they've got lower standards than us.
The White House's own chart, however, showed the biggest decision, that a 10% tariff levied on the UK would remain in place, raising billions from the export of UK goods.
They've agreed to open their markets, and that will add $5 billion of opportunity to American exporters. So the question is, why would they do that now? Because they've never done it before, and we still have our 10% tariff on, which will produce $6 billion of revenue for the United States.
Or not, well, I guess the markets and other countries will judge.
We have been getting voice note reaction to this, Rob, from both sides of the Atlantic. Have a listen to Liz in the UK, and first this from Washington, D.C. in the US.
This is Tim Brightbill, a partner at the law firm of Wiley Ryan in Washington, D.C. This is a solid step forward by the administration, potentially starting to move the United States away from a trade war posture and back toward a more normal bilateral trade relationship with a key U.S. ally. It does appear to be a significant commitment, and this announcement is likely an agreement to start the negotiations, identifying a framework of issues to be discussed in the coming months. We expect to see some overall goals or negotiating objectives with respect to tariffs, like a commitment to reduce overall tariff rates by a set percentage. The agreement will discuss both agricultural and non-agricultural goods. And of course, U.S. agricultural exports are extremely important. We also expect digital trade to be covered. So again, overall, we see this as a signal that President Trump values the relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom. And it may also demonstrate that the UK was more prepared than others to reduce its tariffs.
I'm Liz Webster, and we farm in North Wiltshire, and I'm also the founder of Save British Farming, which was set up specifically to resist a USA trade deal because of the damage that it means for British farming, our food security, and also our public health and our environment and our animal welfare. The standards in America are significantly lower than the standards we have become used to in this country, in Britain. And America, agriculture is very centralized in a small number of very big global corporations. And it was always the case that any trade deal with the United States would need to include agriculture as part of the central force of that deal. This is going to stress Northern Ireland, the island of Ireland, to an extreme. There's nothing to celebrate from, I think, most British people's point of view, because we know that polling shows people really do value high quality food. So it's a bad day for British farmers, it's a bad day for British consumers, but also a worrying day for tensions going ahead.
Thanks to Liz and to Tim for those. And back to Rob Watson, our UK political correspondent.
Great.
The devil really is in the detail, isn't it, Rob? Go on.
No, I was going to say they're great questions, and they really help with exactly what you were leading towards, and hugely sorry to interrupt on the devil being in the detail. So to take Tim's point, it's a really interesting one, and it raises this broader question about what is Donald Trump's, what is he up to? What is his economic policy? Now, Tim was saying that what's been agreed today suggests that what he's trying to do is to rebalance trade between the United States and the rest of the world, which, people would say was in the parameters of the kind of normal, as opposed to what other people have thought that Donald Trump was up to and what Donald Trump himself has suggested, which is to reindustrialize America, right? To bring all of those factories, all of that industrial stuff happening in China, wherever it is, to bring it back to the US. So we'll see which one it is, I guess, in the coming days. So a fascinating point raised by Tim. From Liz, she raised that question that a lot of America's trading partners have. Very big point here. Would it involve the famous chlorinated chicken, beef with hormones? Now, interestingly, we just don't have that detail. But what Sir Keir Starmer said, and he said it more than once, is we are not budging in terms of our red lines on food standards and biosecurity. And I think, without going into too much detail here, this is because Sir Keir Starmer is mindful of people like Liz and of public opinion in Britain, but also of not wanting to upset the European Union, because he's doing a juggling act. He wants a deal with the US, but he also wants to make sure that he doesn't fall foul of EU standards on food and agriculture, because that would really play merry hell with British agriculture and the economy.
Well, we'll see what happens. Rob, thank you for that. Rob Watson, our UK political correspondent. If you're interested in that deal, or even just for what that deal might mean for your country, wherever you're listening, in terms of what